Hey ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? Well, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living in our environment right now. It's in your food, your water, the air you breathe, the clothes you wear, your skincare products. They all mess with your hormones. Then there's the natural hormone changes your body goes through, premenopause, menopause. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean you have to suffer through it. The good news is you don't have to suffer through it anymore because now you have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Hormone Harmony is not just a hormone supporting supplement, it's become a phenomenon. Women can't stop talking about it on social media. A bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. And the biggest benefit? Well, my wife says it makes her feel like her own self again. And that's what women mention over and over in the reviews. And there are over 30,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use code RLRC at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC for 15% off today. That's happymammoth.com and use code RLRC.
Lowe's knows you want to get even more value for the holiday. That's why as a MyLowe's Rewards member, you get new member deals on holiday decor, tools, and more. And you earn points when you shop. More points equal more rewards to help you save on holiday and more. Not a member? Join for free today at Lowe's.com/MyLowe's Because Lowe's knows deals. Program subject to terms and conditions. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. See Lowe's.com/terms for full details. Subject to change.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Real Life Real Crime Daily, a special Real Life Real Crime Daily for Monday, March 6th. And I'm Jim Chapman.
I'm Woody Overton.
And I'm Mike Agavino, and Real Life Real Crime Daily is brought to you today by Drizzly. The official app for paying off bets to Woody Overton.
Indeed. I know that firsthand.
That's funny.
I'm very happy to make my Drizzly bet payoff to Woody. How did you know?
Y'all, the media showed what they wanted to show. I got 30 years of murder trials, okay? In the end, there's no way you put all that shit together like they did in the end, and we'll talk about that, but no way that jury wasn't going to find him guilty.
I may not doubt you again, partner.
Drizzly.com, y'all download it. Home alcohol, well, I guess home delivery service.
Anywhere.
Wherever you're at, right? And,
if you're in a studio right now and you need a little nip, Woody, Sunday was alcohol filled. We can get the Bloody Marys going. And
oh my God, I'd love that big spicy Bloody Mary.
Yes, big shrimp in it.
Okay, folks, so want to give you a feel for how we're going to organize this episode. We left off with you where the defense closing arguments were about to come. The prosecution had delivered their closing. So we want to pick up and talk about the defense closing. We're going to move into the prosecution's rebuttal, jury deliberation, Judge Newman's sentencing, and then we're going to sort of do the holistic look back, pivotal moments of the trial, talk about a potential appeal, and some other things.
Hey, y'all, we already know that you know the results, but you don't know Real Life Real Crime Daily's thoughts.
So we're about to give them to you.
We're about to bless y'all with some knowledge from the college.
Woody's going to put the Karnak hat back on and tell us what's going to happen next. Okay, so let's talk about Jim Griffin and the defense closing arguments. Initial impressions from you guys when you saw it?
Didn't mean shit to me. I knew he was guilty.
I thought it was horrible. I thought they did an absolutely horrible job of even mounting a case that Murdaugh had nothing to do with it. It was just very bland. I found it it surprised me, but they almost seemed unprepared for a summation.
It's a great word. That's a great word.
I think what happened was during the trial when they're focusing on all these different points, right? Like they got out ahead and he said, I lied, whatever, right? But
at the end, when you put it all together, and the defense summary, it's bullshit. I mean, the 12 jurors saw it. Yeah, I mean, it's just total bullshit. It's sensationalized this, this little piece here and this little piece here. They try to put it together, a pile of shit.
Yeah.
No, remember we were talking about Waters playing like he was a touchdown behind. And doing an incredible
masterful job
with their closing. And then you contrast that to what we saw at Griffin. Number one, and that's why I say unprepared is such a great word. You figure these guys are professional presenters. If you're the chosen one, guy or gal, to come in and make the closing pitch here, this is bringing the guy in from the bullpen to get 3 outs in the ninth. You expect them to be impeccable. This guy was shuffling papers all over the place. He didn't know where he was going to go next. He appeared nervous.
I get that part, but here's the deal. You can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. He knew the gig was up, right? I mean, they scored some points in the trial, but ultimately, at the end of the day, the shit was not believable, right? They had him. I mean, he lied, and makes him a liar, not a murderer. Bullshit. You put it all together, all his actions, and he's
it was basically spin. I mean, let's talk about a few of the specific things he did, and obviously, in retrospect, we know that they didn't hit the mark. They didn't have any real impact. But I guess the first thing is, he tried to dismiss the prosecution's theory, that this could have been done by one person, and but they had lost so much steam from their quote unquote expert witnesses because Waters had done such a masterful job with his closing that it almost appeared like you're griping. I mean, he was grasping at straws.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, okay.
One thing that the prosecution also did a good job at was the expert rebuttal witness that they brought in to give his expert opinion on whether those murders could have taken place with one killer, essentially. He was just a lot more personable than the two experts that the defense brought in. He related to the jury extremely well, and I'm sure, Woody, you can attest to how important it is to have a witness that is relatable.
Yep. I mean, it's just the way
he was good old boy.
The way it's done.
Yeah.
And back to it real quick on the defensive summation or whatever. The problem is, think about this. It's a bullshit story. We all know it's a bullshit story, but they had no other defense to offer, right? Everything they gave is the best that they could come up with. It's not like they had the public defender and didn't have a plan. I mean, he almost got away with it.
You think?
No, not really.
No. But he said some things that were like when he
what
said.
What else was he going to say?
Okay, but he's talking about the lying about the whether he was there 5 minutes before or not, and he said he lied because that's what addicts do. Addicts lie. Okay, well, your addict lied about everything, maybe he lied about whether he shot anybody.
Yeah, and I love when they come up and say law enforcement. Some of my best friends in law enforcement, I don't take this lightly, but they planted evidence. Yeah, right, motherfucker. I woke up this morning and said, I'm going, go plant evidence on this guy.
And especially not a Murdaugh.
Right.
They plant evidence on pieces of shit that they can't catch any other way. They're not going to plant evidence on Murdaugh.
And I woke up and went and helped somebody or kill a son and a mama and all that. That's such bullshit. But there's hoping one of those things stick in the juror's head, but it didn't. He's guilty.
Yeah, it was awful. It was a horrible summation. And look, but I think he has a gripe. He almost has a good gripe at a bad defense.
It was a good summation on. I mean, it's it was a shit show, and they put on a good defense. Otherwise, it wouldn't garner such national attention. People are thinking, "Hey, this dude's going to get off." Remember all the polls we did? The people were
Yes.
like, "Yeah, well, I think he's guilty," but you know what? They didn't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. But guess what? They did.
By the way, you brought up polls, and our poll ended up being about 83% guilty.
Yeah.
So the guilties had it, and they called it. But a lot of people had a question. They believed he was guilty, but their question was the evidence there to prove it?
My thing is,
they said no.
They didn't sit there the whole trial. They didn't get to see the jurors' reactions and everything else. And even if it's 83%, if that was accurate, he should be not guilty.
Well, they were 83% in agreement with Woody, essentially, that he was going to fry.
The whole thing, I'm telling you, for 30 years of doing it, you've got to be there. You've got to see it. You got to see the human emotion. And the defense did the best job that they could do. They had nothing else to work with. But at the end of the day, common sense, period.
So what else did he do? I'm just, going to give a couple more of the highlights of things he did. I mean, he went through just how fabulous and loving a relationship Alex had with Paul, Alex had with Maggie. They had Blanca Simpson testimony that they put on video. They also put the guy, Roger Dale Davis, who was the guy who worked in cleaning the dog kennels, talking about how wonderful Alex was and how he would give Maggie anything she wanted and give the boys anything she wanted. By the way, part of the fucking problem in that family, for sure. A little bit of privilege going around. And then, as you said, Woody, he started going down the fabrication of evidence stuff, really attacking the prosecution for that. And
killed it.
And I would think to a juror, when somebody's doing that in closing arguments, you're thinking they are really grasping now.
Right. Yeah, I mean.
And it was interesting that so there was no history of violence in that family relative to domestic violence with his wife and himself. And most, one thing I'll say is most everybody they talked to about his relationship with his wife said it was a good relationship. They loved each other, and it made me think. So, what a twisted individual he is. And when you're a twisted individual like that, you probably think like this. I could see him thinking, I'm going to spare Maggie all this embarrassment from my financial trouble, all this embarrassment from this boat wreck case. And I'm going to spare my son all this going through with the boat wreck case, because he's going to be found guilty, is probably what Alec was thinking, and justified killing them as, I love them so much, I don't want them to have to go through it. That's how sick. Yeah. I'm telling you, that's how sick that dude is.
Yeah, he's got the devil on him.
He definitely does. But, people that would do that, that's how they justify it in their head, is it was the right thing to do.
And I understand what you're saying, but I think he's just a cold-blooded fucking murderer, and he did it for his own reasons, financial or whatever. It may be, you're right, maybe, I don't know.
I think his wife, like every other person in his life, were just instruments for him to feed his obsession with himself.
Right, he's a psychopath and a narcissistic.
So whether it's his best friend for life that he's going to steal $192,000 from, or the law firm his family built that he's going to.
What a piece of.
Remind me to tell y'all when we get to it, when the judge was doing the sentencing, I'm going to tell you exactly what I was thinking, because it's good.
It's fire.
There are a couple other things we could talk about, but I think we all give them a D on closing. And
I actually give them an A for what they had to work with. They didn't have anything to work with. You got a murdering piece of shit who lied and lied and lied and lied.
But
everything
then
all
at least appear confident.
Yeah.
Like I've had to give presentations before on things that
Fake it till you make it.
I had just a little bit of a story to tell, and you've got to make the story. You got to sell it. He can't sell.
Yeah.
He could not sell. I mean, no one was. I didn't have to see the jury to know nobody was going to buy what he was doing, because he just was shuffling papers and wasn't sure where he was going. There was no logical sequence to the way he was doing things. Now let's talk about this John Metters guy. Woody, that was speaking of calls to the bullpen. I mean, that was a call to the bullpen.
The closer.
He was
the wolf.
He smacked he's a wolf. He smacked their ass. And actually, we were in the studio the other day, and I was watching it over your shoulder, Mike, and the volume wasn't even on. But I could, you and I were watching over his shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm like, this dude's going,
Oh, he's very animated.
And we couldn't hear him, but we were watching his body language. I was like, oh, he's killing it. He's killing it.
Very animated. His they call that a rebuttal. And what happens is the defense will get up, they'll do their summation, and then the prosecution actually has an opportunity.
The prosecution goes first, and then the defense, and then the prosecution goes.
Right. They have an opportunity to kind of rebut that defense, what the defense said. And he got up. It lasted 58 minutes, and it was, it was almost Oscar worthy. It was just a phenomenal performance. He focused a lot on the requirement to not prove motive. He brought that up several times. He said, you don't
have to prove it.
Yeah. He said, we don't have to prove it, but we feel like there was one there. Right. But that's not the way he would talk. Y'all was just very, smart in that you could tell he was very relatable to that jury. He wasn't talking over their head. Right. He wasn't using a lot of words they wouldn't be familiar with. He also made it a big point to focus obviously on the lie. And he kept making the comment that he was not being real. And then he made a reference to the Velveteen Rabbit. And he said, when I was a kid and I went to college, my mama bought me the book, The Velveteen Rabbit. And he said, y'all ought to read The Velveteen Rabbit if you hadn't, because it's all about being real. And I don't really think.
I thought that was one of those things you plug in, The Velveteen Rabbit. they sell those. I think
that's
they make
their own
they
type
make
of
one.
rabbit.
That's where they got the name.
It's their own type of
They
rabbit.
need to get a sponsorship from
Excuse me.
I thought he was freaking Harvey Keitel in Pulp Fiction. I mean, he was brought in and knew exactly what to do, and he brought it down to the lowest common denominator. He looked at the jury and said, "Just use common sense."
And it
just if you're around people like this, we all have been around people like this in our lives at different points, right? And when someone is just completely false, when their life is a facade and you're around them enough, you see through it at a point. And I mean, that's the appeal he was making to the jury. And he had a very good sense. I mean, little did I know, of course, Woody Overton knew, but little did I know how the jury was feeling at the time, but he could sense it. And he went right there that this was a common sense case, and
said as much. He used the term common sense. Use your common sense 3 or 4 times. He highlighted aspects of the case that were definitely troubling for the defense. One of the things he said was that he found it very strange, and wouldn't you as well, jury, that he did not call Buster until several hours after the 911 call. Why would you wait several hours to call the son?
I think it was like 55 minutes.
The only living son. He used the term several hours. He did not show any concern for the safety of the mother. He found that very strange. He brought up the boat case, and he said, without being asked, that Murdaugh, the first thing out of his mouth when the cop pulls up is, I think this has to do with the boat case. Well, he said that was an attempt to basically shade everything onto that case and away from himself and start offering up suspects. You don't do that when you just find your son and wife murdered. That was something that he used as a big common sense key. He even covered the definition of murder and how it does not have to be expressed to take place. In other words, you don't have to, in order to kill somebody, you don't have to have all these reasons per se. Sometimes people just kill to kill.
That's right.
It's an emotion. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it's not. But, he did a great job of explaining what was not the responsibility of the prosecution.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've seen it in every trial. That's what,
premeditation. You don't have to prove it.
Right.
I thought along the lines of his common sense theme, he said to them, think about the video you watched of the very first interview with Murdaugh. So he's sitting there. He knows he was there 5 minutes earlier, and it's just that easy for him to lie. Right. It's effortless. It's all he's ever
habitual lie.
Done.
Yep.
Crazy.
I don't even think he knew who he was. It was that guy lied so much. I don't think he even knew who he was at his core. And he did a masterful job of that. It's important to mention that John Metters, that was his first time you had ever seen him in court. Mm-hmm. And the reason is, Woody, tell everybody.
Special prosecutor.
Yeah.
Okay. They on a high profile cases, most states have what you call your big gun. And they are, like Hugo Holland for Louisiana, right? And he does all the high profile or death penalty cases. But he's not in one jurisdiction. So he's a special prosecutor. He can go, basically whatever parish hires him to come in and handle these big cases. And that's what this guy did. But he waited smartly. So I believe, whatever mess ups the prosecutors may have done during the trial, this dude just sitting back there like the cat canary. He's like, I'm going to bring this bitch home, and he did it. And that's his job. It's showmanship. That's what it is. And you know what? It's hate to say that about murders, but that's what it is. A murder trial is pure showmanship.
It was amazing. And Mike, to your point, the difference between preparation and not preparation, he never even looked at a paper. Right. This guy got up, had no papers, and just spoke to that jury for an hour and never had to refer to anything, where the defense basically was shuffling papers the whole time. Well, how does that look to a jury?
Exactly. Failure to prepare is preparing to fail.
100%.
It also, when you take the time to stop and look at your papers and your notes, it breaks whatever train of thought. If you had the jury on point, then you just fucked up. Yeah. It's like hitting the pause button for a couple minutes or for a minute and trying to get back on whatever track. Now here comes the closer, right? The closer comes in, brings no papers. Now, you would think the defense, they've been living this all these years, or however long it is. You would think they would know it better than anyone. Closer comes in. That makes them more relatable. Oh, yeah. And they were like, who's this dude? And he just dropped the knowledge from the college on our heads, right?
No, and it was a great contrast to Creighton Waters, who had come with all of these visuals, right? He had the whole the whole theory of the pressure building and everything else, and all the slides that went to that. Okay, this is going to be, I don't know how many messages we're going to get about how effed up I am when I bring up this next topic, because this was on my mind. We've probably all had surgeries and taken opioids or some kind of injury where we're taking opioids. Okay. If I take more than one opioid a day,
that made me sick.
Well, there's issues potentially with stomach, but I mean, you've got to pass a brick. Okay. I mean, you have to pass a brick if you take one of those things, right? Yeah. So, and then you're popping the stool softeners and you're dealing with this, basically poop management, right? This guy's taking 2,000 milligrams a day.
Yeah, that's
stopped up.
I mean, it's like
he had shit
it's
in
got
a
like
year.
ICBMs coming out. I mean, how the hell is he passing any? Either that or he's taking so much shit to mix with that to allow him to go to the bathroom. How is he not waiting for a bathroom break every couple of minutes? I mean, the judge was breaking for the 15 minutes whenever he was breaking.
I'm pretty sure he was detoxed out by the time trial got there. But I agree with you on the opioids part and the not being able to poop. I mean, 2,000. I think they made a pretty good case for the worst pain management. You get 1,000. Right,
100 is what a single doctor is allowed to prescribe in a day.
And this guy is taking
20x.
What would kill an elephant, right?
Well, they had an expert. I saw something on CNN. They said that an expert said that you could actually do it. Build
up tolerance.
And so it could be true, or it could have just been what they did the reverse math on to try and blame all of his financial woes on his drug habit. But I just kept sitting there thinking, if I was taking that much pain medication, how the hell am I? What basic bodily functions am I giving up?
No idea. That's a good food.
Great question.
Well, they say Elvis died with like 30 pounds of fecal matter.
Let's move on.
Okay, sorry.
We get it.
Everybody poops except for Murdaugh.
This portion of Real Life Real Crime Daily brought to you by
Poops Gold
Bismol. Okay.
X-Lax.
Milk and magnesia.
You don't lie and misremember being at a scene of a murder. I mean, there's again, common sense. You don't lie and misremember being at the scene of a murder of your wife and your son just 5 minutes before they come on. Okay. Anything else from Harvey Keitel?
I think he did a great job, and I think him and the comeback. When Murdaugh took the stand, I felt like that pendulum swung to the defense. And so I want to give a lot of credit to the prosecutor Waters, who came back after that and really wrestled the pendulum back on the side of the prosecution. Did a masterful job after that because his back was against the wall. At that time, I believe if they would have pulled the jury right then and there, Murdaugh would have got off. He was that relatable to that jury. But Waters deserves a ton of credit for being able to basically yank that momentum right back in the prosecution's favor. And then when you close out with John Metters, touchdown.
The one thing
for the
Metters didn't do that the prosecution screwed up a couple times on trial is he didn't overbeat that horse to death. You know what I'm saying? The other two times, and they went on and on and on. He just came in, got to the point, put the pieces of the puzzle together. Guilty.
That's right, and you bring up another good point, Woody. That I do want to say this because after the trial, they asked Waters about some of what were perceived mistakes, and some of those were planned. As a matter of fact, one of the things I had a major issue with was the pauses he would take during the trial. It almost seemed like he would ask a question and 5 minutes would pass before he'd ask another one. Now, in between that, and this is specifically when Murdaugh was on the stand, Murdaugh would answer that question, and then there'd be a pause, and Murdaugh would continue to talk. That was all planned. Yeah. He knew that Murdaugh was so arrogant and so sure of himself that he would talk himself out of this, that if he just shut up and let Murdaugh talk, Murdaugh would hang himself.
Give him enough rope to hang himself.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other side is it gave him enough time to think of the lie he wanted to tell. Right. But let's move to so I'm thinking this timing is working out great, okay? Because now the jury's going to have us. They're going to be at least a few days. And then so timing for our show is going to be perfect. And,
and I told y'all the jury was coming back on Friday.
But, the juror that everybody has now seen interviewed, so let's talk about jury deliberation. He basically said they were done in 45 minutes.
Oh yeah, that probably took them longer to pick the jury foreman than it did the vote. And I've seen this case before, but they sit back there. Sometimes is to get that free meal, but then I don't think these jurors were doing it because they've been there 28 days or however many days. But the deal is they don't want to rush out right in 45 minutes and be like, holy shit, we didn't consider we're sending this guy away for the rest of his life. They were fucking done, right?
Yeah.
But they sit back there for a little bit and bullshit and decompress and we can't rush out too fast. He was like, we don't care, right? Yeah.
Well, it was a lot. I agree. It was a lot quicker than I suspected for sure.
I don't know who that reporter is for ABC News, but they got the exclusive with that one juror, and everybody's seen that coverage, I'm sure, by now. And so she gets into he was crying on the stand, and the juror looked at her and went, no, he wasn't.
Yeah.
She said, what do you? And he said, I was right there. He was just wiping snot.
Yeah. They said when they handed him the Kleenex, it wasn't for tears. It should not be grossed out by his snot.
Yeah.
That may be a byproduct of 2,000.
2,000 milligrams.
2,000 milligrams of opioid in a day. Have you ever seen one that quick? I mean, 45 minutes on this big a trial?
Well, not on this big a trial, but like on Courtney's case, it took an hour and a half, and shit. The longest part of that was, picking the jury foreman. I've seen it on so many cases, and knock on wood, I've been fortunate enough where I've never lost one, and I love it when they come back that fast because it's a guilty verdict.
Well, and I think I don't want to be overly dramatic about it, but I think it does restore a little bit of our faith in this system of justice because we've seen so many trials come and go, and you never know about how that if it's a person of some distinction, of some level of fame or infamy in a community, how that's going to impact the trial. Yeah. Because there's a jury is picking a jury and that jury not having access to certain amounts of information. But if you grew up there, you've known the Murdaugh name since you were a kid. Right. Again, probably seeing it on billboards and watching bad TV commercials and everything else. And so obviously he had not built up, the family had not built up some kind of incredible goodwill in that area that would have worked in their favor. I don't know that it was all negative and worked against them. It seems like what we actually had here was a jury that understood what they were tasked to do and followed the constitutional path to do it the right way, right? Which is refreshing to see.
Yeah, well, it was awesome.
Well, I hope we start to see that in some others. There's a case I want to talk to you about before we're done and relate some of this back. Let's talk about Judge Newman.
Yes.
What a stud.
He was he's probably one of the, if you could think of the prototypical perfect judge, it would probably be Judge Newman. And I want to tell everybody just real quickly a little bit about Judge Newman because after this trial, I got very curious about who he was outside of this trial. Now, he graduated from a segregated high school. Back in his days, schools are still segregated. It was Williamsburg County Training School, and he was valedictorian in 1969. He attended Cleveland State University, where he served as president of the Student Government Association there, received his Juris Doctor from Cleveland Marshall College in 1976. He's known throughout where he serves as judge as a very tough sentencing judge. Right. Very tough. As a matter of fact, people in his counties that he oversees, they don't want Judge Newman if they're on the other end of that. After working in private practice for 24 years, he was appointed as judge in 2000, and he's known for his no-nonsense ways and his methodical demeanor.
Yeah, you want to mess with him.
Yeah.
But measured, sort of calm confidence.
Right.
Not a
Calm, cool, and collected.
Not a gavel banger
Right.
in your face kind of.
He wasn't Judge Ito.
No.
But he certainly took the opportunity to comment, I think, a little bit more sort of off-record kind of comments than a judge normally makes.
Yeah, boy, it's a special case. It's a lawyer, right? Or an ex-lawyer now, and he's known him. He said, I mean, I knew you. We socialized together and all this shit, right? And you practiced in front of me. I think he said, you prosecuted people, right? I had to take your grandfather's pain out of the back of the courtroom as to not to prejudice jurors. I mean, it's just he was just smooth, but I knew he was about to drop the hammer on his ass.
Oh yeah, because he's soft spoken, but I mean, he fired some serious darts when he. The part of it that you're talking about is where he says, as I sit here in this courtroom and look around the many portraits of judges and other court officials and reflect on the fact that in the past century, your family, including you, has been prosecuting people here in this courtroom, and many have received the death penalty, probably for lesser conduct. Ouch.
Yeah, you knew it was coming in. Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and take these point by point. Now, first, he said, this is perhaps one of the most troubling cases, not just for me as a judge, for the state, for the defense team, but for all the citizens of this community, all the citizens in this state. And as we have seen, based on the media coverage throughout the nation, you have a wife who has been killed, murdered, a son savagely murdered, a lawyer, a person from a
Hey, y'all, let me tell you about Gobble. All Gobble meal kits are pre-prepped. That means less work for you and less waste in your kitchen. Their meal kits include everything you need so you can save time at the store or just skip that trip entirely. I got the box in and I had 3 different meals. I had a Kung Pao chicken, crispy fish tacos, and a beef bourguignon, however you say it. But let me tell you about the classic beef bourguignon. Look, it came with beef pot roast and a beef broth concentrate, red wine demi-glace, cremini mushrooms, cipollone onions, mashed potatoes, baby carrots, and rosemary thyme butter. It was so easy to make. Literally like 15 minutes it took Cindy. And let me tell you something, and all the dishes were fire, but this thing was like a taste explosion in my mouth. It's just unreal. We've got to spend more time together and more time doing the things we love because everything came in this one single box right to my door. So see what a difference Gobble will make for your household. Right now, they're offering my listeners a fantastic limited time deal. You get $120 off across 4 boxes plus free shipping and free cookies. And let me tell you, those cookies, I ate one that was sin baked and it was delicious. Go to gobble.com/real life. That's GOBBLE.com/real life for $120 off your first 4 boxes. This offer is not available on the home site, so don't miss out. This is genius. It's taste explosions in your mouth like you never had. Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible hand-picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. Gifts to spark joy, wonder, delight, and that's exactly what I wanted feeling. Hey, y'all, I ordered a super cool piece. It's a candle with a sculpture of LSU's Tiger Stadium on top of it. And each officially licensed laser cut wooden replica features up to 4 layers of detail, creating a bird's eye view of a specific football field, seating section, and more. And every label includes your stadium's name, the team's logo, and school location. And it has a coconut, soy, vegan wax infused with sandalwood smell that creates tailgates and touchdown scent profile, reminiscent of game day. It's invigorating like fresh cut grass and nostalgic like smoke from a pre-game grill, and calming like the crisp autumn air of a new semester on campus. Y'all, I love it. I have it at the base of my TV, and I'm ready to watch the Tigers play on Saturday night, right? Uncommon Goods. Look, when you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting artists and small independent businesses. And many of their handcrafted products are made in small batches. So shop now before they sell out this holiday season. Uncommon Goods looks for products that are high quality, unique, and often handmade or made in the U.S. They have the most meaningful, out of the ordinary gifts anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize. From holiday hosts and hostess gift to the coolest finds for kids, to hits for everyone from the book lovers to diehard sports fans. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone, not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give $1 to a nonprofit partner of your choice. They've donated more than $3 million to date. So to get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/RLRC. That's uncommongoods.com/RLRC for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary.
Respected family who has controlled justice in this community for over a century. A person whose grandfather's portrait hang in the back of this courthouse that I had to order removed in order to ensure that a fair trial was had by both the state and the defense. It's also particularly troubling, Mr. Murdaugh, because as a member of the legal community and a well-known member of the legal community, you have practiced law before me. We've seen each other at various occasions throughout the years, and it was especially heartbreaking for me to see you go into the media from being a grieving father who lost a wife and son to being the person indicted and convicted of killing them. And you have engaged in such duplicitous conduct here in the courtroom, here on the witness stand, and as an established by the testimony throughout the time leading from the time of the indictment and prior to the indictment throughout the trial to this moment in time. Certainly you have no obligation to say anything other than saying not guilty. Now, my thought on that statement is what the judge was aiming for. He wanted Murdaugh to say he was guilty. He was pushing that.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Pushing for the confession? Yeah.
Gave him the chance. And
so he continued on and he talked about the lies that Murdaugh had spun. And he said, remind me of the expression you gave on the witness stand. What a tangled web we weave. What did you mean by that? And Murdaugh said, I mean, when I lied, I continued to lie. And he said, and the question is, when will it end? When will it end? And is it ended already for the jury? Because they've concluded that you continue to lie, lied throughout your testimony. And perhaps with all the throng of people here, for the most part, all believe, 80, 90, 99% believe that you continue to lie when your statement of denial to the court. And then he brought up the opioid pills.
right.
And he said, we conducted a pretrial hearing in which you claim you had been somewhere else at the time this crime was committed. And then after all the witnesses placed you at the scene of the crime, at the last minute or days, you switched courses and admitted to being there. And then that necessitated more lies and continue to lie. And I will say, when will it end? It has already ended for many who have heard you and concluded that it will never end. But within your soul, you have to deal with that.
Right.
And I know you have to see Paul and Maggie during the nighttime when you're attempting to go to sleep.
He said all day.
I'm sure they come to visit you.
He said every day and every night, right?
All day and every night was his response. And he said, I'm sure. And they will continue to do so. And reflect on the last time they looked you in the eyes and you looked the jury in the eyes. And I thought that was
love.
Extremely strong.
But the deal is, for a psychopath narcissist like this dude, he ain't give a shit. Bounce right off of him.
Yeah, well, in Hollywood right now, they're figuring out how to get Judge Judy to just call it a career, and Judge Newman is coming on board, and we're getting that going. How unusual is what he did there?
I think he expounded upon it a little bit further than normal, because this is an officer of the court, right? Or an ex-officer of the court. And he knew him personally. He knew his family and knew his career and everything else too. But you know what? He also knows he's a family annihilator.
Yeah.
Right?
And he was probably pissed.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You're shitting on the whole profession.
Absolutely. Disgraced everything. And you know, you went down this path and you did what you did. And basically, I'm talking about, you know, that you see them at night, right?
Yeah.
And shit like that.
And take away the murders for a second. Just the financial bullshit that he did, screwing over 100 clients, stealing millions and millions of dollars from them. This judge detested that. Right. You could tell.
Allegedly.
No, he's admitted to it.
We're going to talk about.
That's true, but it's still allegedly, even though he's admitted to it, because he hasn't been tried.
We're going to talk about what Murdaugh's statement. What Murdaugh said.
At the end.
Yeah. Well, when the judge said, "You have anything you want to say?"
Yeah, we're getting to.
I got something to say about that. Go ahead. I didn't want.
Okay, so he continued on, the judge, and he made this statement. He said, "I can just imagine on June 7th when a lawyer is confronted and confesses to having stolen over $500,000 from a client, and he has a tagger like Mark Tinsley on his tail pursuing discovery in a case involving the death of Mallory Beach, and having a father for the most part on his deathbed. I can imagine, or I can't really imagine, but I know that it had to be quite a bit going on through your mind on that day," which that statement, to me, he was trying to really get him to admit he did it, and he was giving him an out. Well, here's the reason. You had so much stress on you that I can kind of understand. And you know that a judge couldn't understand, but he's trying to get him to admit he did it. He said, "But amazingly, you have come and testified that it was just another ordinary day, that my wife and son and I were out just enjoying life, and it's not credible. It is not believable. You can convince yourself about it, but it obviously you have the inability to convince anyone else about it. So if you made any such arguments as a lawyer, you would lose every case like that. Cases you will never have the opportunity to argue anymore, except perhaps on your own as you sit in the Department of Corrections." Mr. Murdaugh, I sent it. Well, boom. You want to talk about?
So let's talk about it real quick. When he gave him, he said, "You know, Mr. Murdaugh, do you have anything you want to say?"
Yeah.
And he said, "I did not kill my wife," and I didn't. What did he say?
I did not kill my wife, Maggie.
Yeah.
And I did not kill my son, Paul.
Right. Now, when he said that, listen to me. I literally wanted to. There's been a couple times in my career where I almost lost my job because I wanted, dealing with piece of shit murders and whatever, and then I confessed it and whatever, and I just wanted to knock their teeth out. I literally wanted to jump into the TV, into the courtroom, and knock that motherfucker's teeth out when he said that. It just hurt me. It just made me want to live it.
Yeah.
And you're a fucking piece of shit. You did it. You know you did it. You're gonna deny, right? And I get that, and you're gonna appeal it for the rest of your life. But I wish somebody would have just got up and just knocked his fucking teeth out.
Let me ask you this, Woody, from a homicide detective standpoint. You've interrogated people throughout your life, and I watched a 3-hour interrogation of Murdaugh where he actually went to SLED, which is like the state police of that area. He went to their headquarters, sat down with them for 3 hours, and 2 hours and 50 minutes of that conversation was basically, here's what we got, here's what we're working on. It was very cordial. And you could tell they were about to wrap up, and the police officer, the detective, says, I got a couple more questions.
Right.
And Murdaugh's sitting across from him, and he looks him like square in the eyes, and he says, did you kill your wife? And you could see it took Murdaugh back, and he said, I did not kill Maggie.
Yeah.
And my question to you would be, how tense of a moment, because obviously the detective knew he was about to ask that question. Right. Is it something that you're like, now I got to ask him, or is it, I want to see his reaction?
Yeah, it's purely reaction, right? And then you believe it or not, sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes the fuckers fuck up, and they're like, oh, I did it, right?
Yeah,
I've had that happen for you. If you don't ask, you can't win it if you don't spin it, right? If you don't ask the question. But they knew where they're at. If they had enough to arrest them already, they would have. But building up that rapport over 2 plus hours and then hit them with the cold question, that's how it's done.
Yeah.
Right? This is the deal. If I can't get the juice out of you, I'm going to prove the case another way, right? I'm going to follow the evidence, do what I got to do. And if I got to come, if you don't confess and let me help you help yourself, I'm going to build it. If you're guilty, right? I'm going to build it. I'm going to follow the evidence. I'm going to do your ass just like they did him in this case.
It was a tense moment there, and his response back was no, he didn't. Then he asked him, did you kill your son? He said, no, I did not kill my son, Paul. Do you think I killed him? And he said, I don't know.
Right.
I mean, he didn't tell him, no, I don't think you killed him. He just looked at him and he said, I can't rule you out.
Right. And you got to stay on them to prove it or disprove it.
Okay, let's move on to some of the pivotal moments, pivotal rulings. So I'm learning as we go and we look at more and more of these cases, the concept of what is admissible and what is not admissible, and so my understanding is that because these financial crimes had not been adjudicated, they had not been through the court system, that technically discussion about them should not have been admissible in trial.
He brought them up.
That was the biggest gift that the prosecution had.
So the defense opened the door for all of that testimony to come in by bringing character witnesses to the table that spoke about Alex's character, and the judge ruled after those witnesses were brought in that because that was done, the prosecution can now bring in these financial issues because they speak to character. So this was the best defense team money could buy in that part of the country, right?
If they had not opened that door, it'd have been not guilty.
Okay, but these are A students, not C students, right? They understand. This is like day one of law school stuff, right?
Yeah, wait. It's not just their plan. It's Murdaugh's plan. You got to figure in the narcissist, the psychopath. He's like, oh no, we're gonna run it this way.
Okay, but he's an A student too. So he's
a narcissist, a psychopath. He was like, I want the people to come in and say how great I am.
Okay, so you think it was his calculus?
Absolutely.
His calculus was
shit. They can't do it without him.
My character witnesses are going to be so strong in my favor that nothing these guys come back with about my financial misdeeds are going to overcome these.
Yes,
I think that is but
special
it's
kind of
his
arrogance.
being so narcissistic that he thought the one would outweigh the other, right? He knew that he was opening the door. He's not stupid, but his brain is what got him, right? His narcissism. It was like, he was like, I want these people to get up there and say how great I am.
Yeah, and you have to remember, he, in his mind, never is going to get convicted in his town, right?
Yeah, right.
This is his people. This is Murdaugh country.
This is a man.
These people are never going to convict him. They've elected everybody in his family to, basically what would equate to the district attorney for 100 years.
Remember this. This is a man who took a shotgun and at close range blew his son's head off and turned around and shot his wife with a different weapon.
Yeah.
Okay? He doesn't even exist on our plane. Whatever you think, it's not the lawyers. He certainly had to say, I want to get on the stand. Narcissism, right? Yeah. Who in the fuck does that? But he knew he was going to be good. And after he got on the stand, everybody's like, oh, he's going to be found not guilty, not guilty. I'm like, fuck that. They see him. They've been watching him for 28 days or however long it is. He absolutely put himself in prison.
So major critical error.
Absolute.
Okay, so I don't want to get ahead because we're going to talk about prospects for appeal, but one of those prospects is ineffective counsel. Now, can counsel say, well, we would have been effective because we would have never done that, but he was playing coach and he was choreographing the plays. He's the one who wanted to do that.
That's coming. You better that's coming on appeal. We'll get the rest of it, but when it comes, you better bet those lawyers have their ass covered already.
Yeah, and interesting, the head of his defense was also a senator. Did y'all know that? Mm-mm. Yeah, he's a senator. Now, one of the criticisms was the age of his head counsel. Look, he was very old. I don't know how old he is, but he's got to be in his 70s. And nothing against being in your 70s, but there was a point in the trial where they were trying to show the positioning of the defense was trying to paint a picture that there's no way you could have shot a gun being at this angle. And the poor guy couldn't even get on the ground and bend over enough for them to perform the angle. But that's horrible in front of a jury. Yeah. This is probably one of the most important keys to that defense's case, and you're a lawyer. Right. Y'all didn't drill this ahead of time?
They should have had somebody to do that for them. But here's my argument against that would be the 70 years. He's got probably 50 years as a trial lawyer. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, he's just because your body goes.
Well, there's no doubt. But my point is, why was he even doing that drill? Number one, because they made the point. They said, now I'm not 6'4", like Murdaugh. So you have to imagine, why didn't you get a guy that was 6'4" to come in and do that drill? Yeah.
I agree with you on that.
It's crazy. Yeah. Just some of the stuff that they did just seemed very unprepared.
But
and it showed.
But again, it's a production. It's live. Just like playing sports and making mistakes, whatever, they are going to be made. It's how you recover from them, which they never did.
Right. Well, and sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good. Right. So if you think about if it did not take all the time it took to get Paul's phone records, right? So, if they had gotten that stuff immediately, then you would have had Alex's story change a long time ago, and he would have had a big length of time to grow into the new bullshit story and plan it well. Because it came so late, he got deeply entrenched in his I was never there, even after Rogan came forward saying, I really think I heard Alex's voice in the background when I was talking to Paul on the phone. So that is the existence of that video is the thing that turned this whole case.
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
And all the lawyers, all the jockeying around, all the money spent, everything else, it comes out of left field. They don't know it's there. They're waiting on this request to get access to the phone. They finally get it. It matches what they've heard from. Who knows where in their heads even it was. It had Had Rogan not come forward and said, I think I heard his voice in the background, would they even as aggressively have gone after those records? Who the heck knows? Probably still would have. I would think that would be standard, but it is the thing that turns the entire trial, because the only leap you've got to make now is, okay, we know he lied about everything else, about all these financial crimes. Now he lied about being at the scene of the crime 5 minutes before it happened. Well, why would we ever believe that he didn't commit the crimes when he's lied about everything else? And this particular lie, it certainly worked to the prosecution's advantage that they didn't have this evidence for as long as they didn't have this evidence, because it just entrenched him deeper and deeper in that bullshit story.
He lied to his own attorneys about. I mean, obviously he did, but yeah, that video, voice from the grave,
and then the. I mean, I don't know what a sick mind like his. I don't know what you could come up with, but paranoid thinking based upon his opioid addiction, that was the best that they could do.
That was very
right.
weak.
But what? Give me any other scenario. I mean, that's the best. That's what they had.
Yeah.
They had no. You better believe they sat around and talked about it. They could have come up with another way to do it besides, so I'm an opioid, I'm a liar, and I'm an addict. That's what they had.
Right. Well, like if this was a movie, and he was really innocent, he might lie about that because he's now going to use his legal skills and his investigator skills to go find out who the real killer is or killers are, because his only way of getting vindication is to bring the actual killers to the table and prove himself innocent, right? Well, that happens in the movies. Right. That doesn't happen here on planet Earth. And so I don't know what he could have possibly come up with, but that one didn't score points. And there are other little things, this whole thing with it was so bad, I did him so bad versus they did him so bad thing. I mean, that got a lot of attention, but there's not really a lot of meat on that bone that you can do anything with after that. It's a piece. It's
another brick. Brick in the wall.
No other suspects. I mean, there's this.
Let me tell you something. You're not killing a mother and a son, especially if it's two shooters, and loose lips sink ships. There's nobody out there that wouldn't have, thought, oh, my husband came home tonight, he had blood on us. Somebody would have talked. Somebody would have talked.
Well, you probably don't plan a murder where you're relying on getting weapons at the murder site.
Right. Yeah, right.
When has that happened? Has that happened ever anywhere?
It wasn't feasible to believe that two other people came in and murdered him, his family, because of drugs or money owed or boating accident or whatever. That dog doesn't hunt.
We heard about threats to Paul. Did they present legitimate evidence about threats to Paul? I don't remember ever seeing that.
There was, that was Murdaugh essentially saying, and I'm sure he had some threats. He was involved
like social media posts.
Other kids, friends of Mallory Beach probably were. Yeah, we ever see you out, we're whipping your ass because you won't admit that you were driving that boat. I could see other 19-year-old guys doing that, or however old he was.
Jury saw through that,
but it wasn't threats of death. And Murdaugh basically said that he would go out to bars and stuff, getting fights over it. You know what? Stay out of the bars, bro.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, so let's
tell him nothing now. He's
let's talk about potential prospects for an appeal. We've already talked a little bit about it, but does the dismissed juror come into this?
That's number one. Number one with a bullet right behind ineffective counsel.
100%.
Because that girl lied to the judge. She would have had sympathy, in my opinion. She would have been like, I get it about lying, right? You could have sit and lie to the judge's face. Why?
Yeah.
Why didn't you just say, you know what, I fucked up?
Well,
you're
and
getting dismissed anyway.
And the attorneys did talk to this lady before she was dismissed, and the defense did say that she was undecided.
Yeah.
Is that corroborated by anyone other than the
I think
defense
they
at
are
this
all
point?
in the room when that occurs, and the prosecution didn't say they were lying.
Hey, and when she lied to the judge, you better believe she's going to eat this, ride this pony and turn some kind of financial gain out of it. And they'll use it on appeal, just saying, oh, she definitely would have voted not guilty. And they dismissed her on the last day.
Yeah.
That's crazy. No,
Okay,
I mean,
but-
the dismissal is proper.
But what
I'm
sort
saying is,
of what
that's
sort
the
of
appeal.
precedent exists there? I mean, if you violate the
It
code and
doesn't
talk
matter.
to,
It's just like their defense throwing up all the shit and trying to find one piece that would stick for reasonable doubt. The appeals process is the same way. I can look up any one of my cases right now and I have like 15, they call them errors, right? 15 different assignments of error. They're trying to blame it on. All of them bullshit. All of the court, and, like on Juster, right? You read the cases and they list the details of the crime and what happened at the trial, and then they go into assignments of errors, and the court's going to shoot them down one by one. They did nothing wrong. They're going to appeal it. I mean, guess what? He's got 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to sit in his cell and think about all the appeals he's going to do, and he's going to appeal, and he's going to appeal until 15 years later, it'll all be over with.
Yeah.
There's no way they're overturning this.
15 years. I mean,
It's going to
I've been watching.
It takes forever.
I've been watching Mayor of Kingstown. Have you guys watched Mayor of Kingstown?
Taylor Sheridan is a genius.
He is.
Yeah.
Everything he does, everything he touches.
You
but
got to watch it.
I've seen it.
Okay.
Great show. And I think gets really good scores for the realism
Right.
of the show. Okay, so someone's building a Tinder profile right now for Alec as he enters the facility of choice. Now, I don't know, his opioid habit might impact how attractive I find him because I'm a little worried about what might be going on back there. But, I mean, this guy in general pop is...
He ain't going to make it. Somebody's going to kill him.
I mean, how many of if he's in a South Carolina facility, there's a decent number of people that are going to be in that facility that were put there by him.
He's going to be locked up somewhere
Absolutely.
special.
Yeah. They have
probably-
prisons for just police officers.
Police officers and chomos and stuff like that.
I
People
mean,
that are high risk.
Priest.
It doesn't mean they won't kill him there either. So
that's true.
But he's going to spend.
Or he does a
tell you
Jeffrey
something.
Epstein special.
I hate to use this word, but he's a pussy. All right. Then he's a narcissistic pussy, and he's going to be in an admin sex cell by his own choice because at the end of the day, he's afraid of getting shanked. He only cares about him. He's not even sorry about the conviction. He's sorry he got caught.
Okay, so how long before that night do you think he hatched this plan?
I don't know. But it was coming.
It wasn't.
After
it wasn't
No, it wasn't
hours.
immediate that
It
night.
wasn't
No.
days.
Yeah, I think he was thinking about it for a little bit. I mean, and he's thinking, I'm so smart. These dumb fucking Yahoo Barney Fice are never going to catch me.
Why not get a third-party gun somewhere? I mean, why? I mean,
Because
pick it apart as an investigator.
Because I don't think he planned it that as far in advance as you're thinking.
well, then
He was just fired from the
thing-
law firm 2 days before that.
the thing is, however far he
I think
planned in
that's when it
advance,
started.
If you go out and you get a third party gun, then that's more lips that can talk. You got to get it from somebody, and they're going to know you're getting it. Or by hook or crook, if you use an intermediary, a go between to go get another weapon, then that person can
If
still
I
tell
said to you right now, not that you would do it,
Right.
but you,
Right.
with all of your access, had to get a gun that was completely untraceable that no one would know you got, would you get it?
I would get it for you. But the deal is, then I have the knowledge, right? If you go,
Well, no, I'm saying I'm not the shooter. You're the shooter.
yeah. If I want to get one and do it, yeah, but there's no such thing as perfect crime. If I go do that, I go get that weapon. I got to get it from somewhere. I can't shit it out. and make it magically appear, you got to deal with another human being to get that weapon. And that motherfucker's going to testify against you if you kill your wife and your son. You see what I'm saying? That's why you use your own shit, and it's ease of access. And he's not thinking that. He's thinking, well, you know what? They don't know all the weapons that I have, right? No, I don't even know all the weapons I own. I got closets full of them. And it's the truth. I can't remember every single one of them, but he got two. He's thinking, double shooter scenario, that's really going to fuck him up. And it would. The different calibers as a detective, that would really jack me up, right? Because I'm certainly going to think it's two shooters. He didn't do that. You know, I'm saying he's smarter than everybody else. He took his own shit. He already knew where he's going to get rid of them at, wherever that's at. And he's smarter.
But
he's smarter than everybody.
He invested his time in his perfect alibi more than the actual execution of the murders.
Because you know why? I don't know. I can't speak inside his mind, but I can tell you one thing. Those weapons, he knew. He was smart enough to know how to dispose of them when nobody would ever find. Because guess what? When he gets disposed of them, he was by himself. He didn't use somebody else to get rid of them because that person can talk. He thinks he's smarter than the cops and everybody else in his own mind. He's a legend in his own mind.
But the things,
no such thing as
the
perfect
things you
crime.
Don't think of. It's like
you can never think of them all.
Columbo used to solve. I used to love watching Columbo episodes because the way he would work the murderer and the way he would piece together the crime and find these little things. And in this case, it's a chicken. I mean, it's a chicken that gets in a dog's mouth that forces him to yell out the dog's name while social media that he's not thinking about is recording him yelling out the dog's name. What the hell? The chicken isn't in your plan.
That's my point. There's no such thing as a perfect crime. You could plan it for 10 years and it's still not going to go the way you expect, right? You're going to leave some kind of trace, some kind of fuck up. If you got a good enough investigator, they're going to get it.
You're starting to see now some stories pop about, are they coming for Buster next? I guess there were people that were that have trolled him. There were people
heckling
at trial, and what's going to happen for Buster next. Here's my first prediction. Actually, I think we should do an over/under survey on this. Is how long does it take Buster's girlfriend before she breaks up with him? Because, take a good look at that guy. It's basically, okay, I've been dating Ronald McDonald for the past however many years because his family's rich and did all this stuff. And, now his prospects for the long haul aren't so.
She's going to wait a minute, just like the jury waited 3 hours instead of going back in 40 minutes.
I got 2 weeks. I got 2 weeks.
She wants to have a little bit of quorum and not say, hey, I was hooked up with him just because it's money.
What are you going over under on my 2 weeks?
2 weeks? I'm going over.
You're going over. Okay, so my bet with Woody brought to you by Drizzly, where I will, of course, pay off another bet I'm going to lose to Woody with some fresh alcohol delivered to his choice location by Drizzly. So what about Buster and the Smith incident in 2015?
I think that's kind of next on the list for this.
Well, they're going to certainly look at it.
County to prosecute. And I don't know what the problem is. There's absolutely no evidence in that case.
If they had probable cause, they would have got him already.
Yeah. You can't just because people are saying we think Buster did it.
You got to have proof.
There's evidence that I believe that kid was killed. But there's no evidence that I've heard that points Buster anywhere towards that other than the fact that they may have been lovers.
But are there people who have been tight-lipped that now might start singing because the whole dynamic has changed?
It's possible. But there's still, as of this time, I have seen nothing solid.
Okay, well, we are on Buster watch for both the breakup of the relationship at the 2 week point. Jim, did you get in on that bet? You're over as well?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm the only.
She doesn't want to look like a whore. I mean, I'm a whore. She's got to give him a couple weeks.
But it's a positive for her reputation for her to give him walking papers. It's not a negative.
No, it would be a positive. Stand by your man before you cut him because you were in it for the money. There's no money anymore.
She just found out.
Hey, you know what?
She just found. Actually, I read something where they said that the attending the trial made all of the family members that much more sure that Alec was innocent. That somehow they were in a different room than everybody else. Their takeaway was that the evidence supported his innocence. Excuse me, not his guilt. I thought that was quite a fantasy.
Jokes on them.
Okay. Any final thoughts, Jim? Any final thoughts?
No, I just like to go on record and say, guilty,
you were right again.
Guilty.
All right, there you go. What he called it again.
I hope he gets what's coming to him. I mean,
Well,
if you kill your son and your wife, I'm talking about inmate justice.
Yeah. Well,
You better believe that they can get their hands on him, they're going to choke that chicken.
on that note, I'm Jim Chapman.
Well, that would be justice. It ending with a choked chicken, given everything that happened. So,
On that note, I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Woody Overton.
and I'm Mike Agavino.
For Real Life, Real Crime Daily, peace.
Show business.
Fall into big savings, all in the Kroger app. Get 6 packs of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or 7-Up for $2.99 each. Then get juicy red, green, or black seedless grapes for 99 cents a pound, all with your card and a digital coupon. Shop these deals at your local Kroger, less than 5 miles away. Or tap the screen now to download the Kroger app to save big today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Prices and product availability subject to change. Restrictions apply. See site for details.